believe Brother Enigma thought what he was doing was going to show what I am saying in the title, but I believe it happened for more clarity. Last time when he spoke, I said it's starting to show that Brother Enigma thought he was going to manipulate Pastor Motor into a corner of saying, let's say this is our narrative of division and resolve it. But Enigma showed this manipulative hand. And in this particular episode, he even clarified it. So on the previous episode, I was only speaking at hints, like certain things that he was saying, like when he was saying, we'll come back and we'll sit here with Pastor Motor and he will clarify. We'll speak about this thing that we both saw. So on the last episode, I was like, oh, he's pulling a manipulative trick. The manipulative trick is lie about this. Let's accept this narrative. That's a manipulative trick. Fine. Now, in this latest episode that they did with the Chris Network, where Enigma was speaking about the Holiness Church and saying that, he is done with this church, Enigma showed what you would call his poker hand. Poker hand, is either you have bigger cards or you have smaller cards, or that whole thing, that you try and deceivingly look like you don't have something so that the other person buys it, they don't bid higher or whatever, the poker hand. Magicians call it a sleight of hand. Enigma mistakenly exposed it. I'm going to do two different parts on this one because there's a lot of points. There's a lot that he goes through. And I want to show you the poker hand. I want to show you Enigma's poker hand. On part 2, I will talk about what I call the adjustment. And I need you to see that part because on that one, he attacks Truth Defender and also Truth Preacher. And so, which I found very interesting because on that one, I want to show you when a person is holding a poker hand and he mistakenly exposes it, what does it look like? And so do stay tuned for both parts of this episode. So on this part, I want to show the areas where he exposed the poker hand with certain details. And they are very slight. You will not notice them if you are not looking for them. And they are very obvious. It's not like it's hidden, you have to be spiritually. It's nothing like that. We don't speak like that. We speak with direct facts on this channel. So we're going to do that here. So let me show you the revealing of the poker hand. Before we go to part 2, where we will show the adjustments by how he deals with the poker hand. When you see this, you will notice he will have to go back to this method. And I'll tell you why. It's a learned behavior. Fine. Okay. Let's start. What do I mean Enigma mistakenly exposed his poker hand or exposed his poker hand? When he starts the video, they start talking about the prayer event that's happening. And so the prayer event has nothing to do with thingy, but the prayer event actually allows you to see how does Enigma function in deception. Believe me, please, hear this, hear this. Enigma says, in that meeting, there are people that are going to be praying for God and they are there for God, but then there are people that are going to be assigned to the devil. Question, who? You see, it leaves you hanging. Everybody is in the balance. Some people are going to be marked by the devil. Some people are going to be marked by God. It's the same event. They are there, all of them. He might have just opposed it and said, no, don't go there. But then he puts it in between. You decide. Who do you think was marked by the devil? So that's his whole message in there, in that entire thing, is that, there are people that are going to be marked by the devil. There are people that are going to be marked by God. It leaves you deciding. So who do I think is marked by the devil? Who do I think is marked by the queen of the ocean? As the whole thing. I passed that particular point. So he opens by that. Number 2 thing is Enigma never addresses the lies he told about Pastor Moto. So when he said, there was a lady, she was there, she was a Satanist, and all that kind of jazz. They prayed, they were blind about it. Enigma never addresses that whole thing. He never addresses how did he come to those conclusions, or that story that he cooked there, because he clearly cooked the story. And you remember when I appeared on Chris Network 8 months ago, I said Enigma is cooking these things in his head. It sounded as if I was being malicious or disrespectful, but no, you can see when Enigma cooks a story and the story has no backing, he doesn't go back on it. He doesn't go back on it. He just cooks something else. Now, I'll speak about this thing on the adjustment part, because I believe on the adjustment on part 2, that's where you will see it on that particular episode. And so you will see that there are certain things he says and he doesn't go back to. There are certain things Enigma says and he doesn't go back to. But why didn't Enigma address, how did he come to the conclusions about there was a demonic person in the church and this demonic person was there causing problems? We went and we fasted, and this person has now been exposed. They're going to come back and they're going to sit down and call people back. So how did he come to that? He never addresses that. So now, this is what I call the adjustment. It will matter in the adjustment. On this particular episode, I wanted to highlight it. He never addresses that lie, which was the whole thing. People were saying, so did you lie about seeing this demonic person or satanic person? So he never addresses that thing. Now, in this one, he also does not address. He says, no, I didn't say the church closed. Oh yes, you said the church is not functioning. When the time is right, you will call people back. You are implying the church is closed without saying the church is closed. He's playing semantics. He's playing semantics. I'm not going to deal too much in that one. If you believe one thing, you'll believe one thing. If you believe the other, you'll believe the other. But one thing for sure is he doesn't address the lie that he said, that him and Pastor Moto were praying and whatnot. He doesn't, because it doesn't further his thinking. Pastor Moto didn't buy into his idea, number one. Number two, the satanic person that he claimed that there was a satanic person. Pastor Moto says, what? Where does that come from? There's nothing like that. There's no such a thing. There's no problem like that. Okay? He doesn't address that. The church being non-functional, he changes it and he makes it a semantics issue that we misunderstood them. It's a poker hand. Is that they can play around how you understand things or how they said things and whatnot. He's revealing his poker hand. In this particular episode, Enigma delves into the subject matter about money being in Pastor Moto's hand. He says, oh no, I never held money. Money was never with me. And you'll remember how we were introduced to Brother Enigma concerning him owing people money and he almost died. But it's fine. We'll come back to that because that is a different episode by itself. I'll deal with that particular point by itself. Now, you will notice that he says money was never in his hand, but I want you to notice something concerning that. Enigma speaks about a lot of money being in Pastor Moto's hand. He doesn't say how it was being misused. There was nothing they presented about misuse of funds. Nothing. And I mean nothing. They presented nothing. It wasn't like, okay, Pastor Moto spent money over there, or he did this with the money, or nothing. There was nothing. So it's this whole assumption that something is being done with the money. The money is in the pastor's hand. It's just maybe accumulating with the pastor. I don't know. But that particular point I want to mention later on. But the one thing that I want to show you with that is that Enigma does not show anything. He doesn't say anything about a waste of funds in the hands of Pastor Moto. Because there's nothing to point to. It's just speculative. I don't think he should have anything to do with that because he's not church board. He's not, but anyways, that's a different subject altogether. The next thing is that the subject matter of Pastor Motwa's cheating, although Enigma didn't say anything about it, he said there's a lot going on over there, and Brother Enigma defends any other things that were said without directly saying what he sides with. So the subject matter about the cheating and whatnot, he doesn't address that. It's like, no. But I can tell you why he didn't have a response for that, because Pastor Motwa came with the lady whom he's been accused of, Membuli. He came with her, they sat there, they explained the whole thing. What were you going to dismiss from that? They completely destroyed the narrative. So you can't build a narrative. He couldn't cook anything out of that. So he completely backs off. Completely backs off because there's nothing. And this is where I think you see, wait for it, watch it. You see, when Enigma cannot pin you on anything, he diverts to symbolic things. He diverts to symbolic things. He talks about, hey, there was a cloth over the pastor's eyes. We'll talk about that in part 2 when we talk about the adjustments. And so he diverts to spiritual things. When he cannot tackle you on something that you did wrong or something like that, no, this person did this. That's what says that person is wrong. You know, if he can't pin anything, he diverts to symbolism. And in symbolism, anything could be true. It could be a lie. Who knows? Spiritually, you are blind. Like, if a person just says, oh no, this person is spiritually blind, you don't have anything that you can directly pin to. So this is where you see, when he, instead of tackling the things he doesn't have proof for, he jumps or he argues symbolic things. No, the Holy Spirit is not there. He said that. He said, no, the Holy Spirit is not there. And so he doesn't know about now. But the Holy Spirit, when he left, the Holy Spirit was not there. Now, we'll talk about that later on the adjustments, okay? But when Enigma does not have anything to pin to, he will dive to symbolics. And that is his deception. His deception is that if he can say something and you buy it, he's not going to argue it any further. Like if he comes and says Mandela is in hell. Mandela is in hell. And you don't argue it, that's cool. But if you argue it, he will come back and he will bring maybe the triple C. He diverts to spiritual symbolism and all those kind of things. This helps him to divert the subject every single time. And that helps you see how Enigma should be seen next time. So you see this particular method here that he pulled here, where if he doesn't have a direct, he goes to symbolism or symbolic things. That's the thing that you have to look out for. Why? Because that tells you that is how. That's his poker hand. Enigma's poker hand is if he doesn't have anything on you, he will pin something spiritual. On me, he didn't have anything. I can't say I wear demonic clothes or anything like that. He can't. So he just uses the one thing that he sees. The cap. His NY on the thing. Even though we all know what this is. But he pins it to some spiritual thing. That's Enigma's poker hand. And you will see that he has done that. Okay? What I'm saying right now, you will notice that this has been Enigma's thing from the beginning of his entire ministry. If he can't pin to something that you did, like for instance, when he mentioned what's his name? Ayanda. Imimoya. And he just said, what spirit? You know, he questioned the whole spirit thing. So there was a direct thing. He doesn't have to imply to any other thing. He doesn't have to divert to symbolic things because there's something he can point to. I'm just showing you an example of it. When he has something to point to, he'll point to it. If you answer it, he goes to symbolics. That's his poker hand. If you go back to the twins, he has nothing. Like he can't call them out on anything except say makeup or what. So he dives to symbolics, things that you can argue the whole year without anything. That's Enigma's poker hand. Should Enigma come to your church, if he can't get you to do what he wants, he will dive to symbolics because symbolics allow him to spin the story anyhow or any direction. That's his poker hand. You are seeing how does Enigma deal with subject matters. If this doesn't work, he's going to divert to this. And the reason why I say this thing is because, you know what? Let me tell you something. People don't change. You see, like when a person gets used to a method of dealing with things, they don't change. It always remains the same. That's why when police are investigating a person, so forth, they look for patterns of behavior. And you will notice, you listen to the case of Bishop Zondo, you'll hear the same thing. They try to track a behavior and a way he was viewed. You know, all of those things, it pins a character behind. Might not be you, but it pins a character behind. And it's a similar type of character. Now we got to spot, is this really you? Does this pin you here? So people don't change this thing. This is why I am speaking about it as a separate episode. The character is, you use symbolics when you cannot argue the physicals. When you can't prove anything, when you can't point to any proof, you use symbolics. And that looks like that's Enigma's direction. And so, should Enigma go to any other church? Should he find himself in any other place? What's going to happen is that you're going to see the very same hand. He instructs one thing. If you don't take that one thing, he dives to symbolics. And on part 2, I want to show what I call the adjustments. And by adjustments, I mean, how then does he now paint the person after? A person he might have approved publicly. How does he paint and how does he change around that? And I think on the next one, we can deal with that in proper details. It's Ricky, and I'll see you on that episode.